Picture an ordinary Thursday night on Manhattan's Upper East Side. White tablecloths, sizzling steaks, the clink of wine glasses, and two waitresses hustling through another dinner shift at a neighborhood steakhouse just like they've done 1,000 times before. They're doing what servers do, taking orders, refilling water, clearing plates, smiling through tired feet. One of them has been on this floor for years. The other is her niece learning the trade, working her way up. They both know the regulars, the suits, the families, the old-timers who order the same thing every week. And then there's him, an older gentleman, 80-something, always polite, always tips, orders his meal, doesn't say much. Comes in so often he's practically part of the furniture. His name is Robert H. Ellsworth. They don't know much else about him, just that he's kind, quiet, loyal, a fixture. But here's what they don't know. Robert isn't just some retiree with a favorite booth. He's one of the most prominent Asian art collectors in the world. His private collection is legendary. Museum-quality pieces, rare scrolls, ancient sculptures, treasures that institutions dream of acquiring. And he's been watching them, not in a creepy way, in the way that people notice kindness, consistency, the way you show up, the way you treat others when no one important is looking. They have no idea. Because one August night in 2014, Robert H. Ellsworth passes away at the age of 85. And that's when the impossible happens. Let's rewind. Donohue's Steakhouse. Upper East Side, not flashy, not a celebrity hotspot, just a solid neighborhood place where people come back because the food's good and the staff remembers your name. Maureen Donohue Peters has been working there for years. It's her world. She knows the rhythm of the room, who likes their steak rare, who wants extra bread. It's space, who wants to chat. Her niece, Maureen Barry, works alongside her, learning the business, building relationships with the same regular faces her aunt has served for years. And every week, like clockwork, there's Robert. He doesn't demand anything, doesn't flash money, doesn't talk about his accomplishment. He just comes in, orders, eats, tips, thanks them, leaves. They treat him the way they treat everyone, with respect, with warmth, with the kind of genuine care that can't be faked. Because that's the thing about service work. You meet everyone, the demanding ones, the rude ones, the ones who snap their fingers, the ones who leave pennies, and then you meet the quiet ones, the ones who see you as a person, not a servant. Robert was one of those, but here's what makes this story almost impossible to believe. The odds of a regular customer remembering you in their will, astronomically low. Think about it. How many servers does the average diner meet in their lifetime? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Most people tip and move on. That's the transaction. Service for payment. It's professional, it's polite, but it's not personal, except sometimes it is. Sometimes someone notices, really notices, not just the smile, not just the efficiency, but the humanity, the consistency, the dignity in honest work. Robert noticed. And Maureen had no clue. They didn't know about his art collection. They didn't know about his wealth. They didn't know about the auctions and galleries and museum consultations. To them, he was just Robert, a kind regular, a familiar face. Someone who made the shift a little easier just by being pleasant, that's it. No grand gestures, no big conversations, no life-changing moments. Just years of small, quiet interactions. The kind of relationship that forms when you show up to the same place over and over and treat people with basic human decency. But that's not the twist. August 2014. Robert H. Ellsworth dies at age 85. The art world mourns. Obituaries run in major publications. Colleagues and institutions release statements. His collection, worth untold millions, begins the complex process of estate settlement. And somewhere in that estate, in the legal documents, in the will, two names appear. Not names you'd expect in the will of a world-renowned collector. Not museums, not foundations. Not family members connected to his professional legacy. Two waitresses, Maureen at Donohue's and Maureen at Donohue's niece Maureen. That's how he listed them. He didn't know their full last names. He didn't have their contact information on file. He just knew them as Maureen and Maureen, the two women who served him, who made him feel welcome, who treated him like a person, not a patron. And he left them each $50,000, US dollar $50,000 each. US dollar $100,000 total to two waitresses in a steakhouse on the Upper East Side. Let that sink in for a second. A man walks into a restaurant, orders dinner, tips politely, Does this for years, dies, and in his will, his actual legal will, he leaves a life-changing amount of money to the people who served him steak. This isn't a news story you scroll past. This is the kind of thing that sounds made up. But it's not. It's real. It's documented. It happened. And Maureen had absolutely no idea it was coming. Now imagine this. You're working your shift, same restaurant, same routine. Except one of your regulars hasn't been in for a while. You don't think much of it. People travel, people get sick, people move, life happens. And then you hear he passed away. It's sad. You feel for his family. You remember him fondly. You think he was a good guy. I'm glad we treated him well. And then you get a call, or a letter, or a visit from an attorney, and they tell you that you've been named in his will. Your brain tries to process that sentence. Named in his will, a customer, a regular, someone you barely knew outside the restaurant. You're expecting maybe a kind mention, a small token, a few $100, something symbolic, and then they tell you the number, $50,000. Your knees go weak, because this isn't a bonus, this isn't a tip, this isn't even a generous gift. This is a full year's salary for some people. This is a down payment on a house. This is student loans. This is breathing room. This is a completely different financial reality. And you did nothing to earn it except show up to work and be kind. Picture that moment, the disbelief, the confusion, the overwhelming gratitude, the shock. You replay every interaction in your head. Did he ever say anything? Did you do something special? Was there a moment you missed? No, there was just consistency. Respect, humanity, and somehow that was enough. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. This isn't just one person, it's two, aunt and niece, both named, both receiving the same amount. Maureen Donahue Peters, $50,000, Maureen Barry, $50,000, two women who showed up to work every day, treated a quiet regular with warmth and dignity, and ended up with a financial windfall that most people never see in their entire lives. Not from a lottery ticket. Not from an investment, not from a lucky break or a treasure hunt, from kindness, from consistency, from being seen. Now the news breaks, because a story like this doesn't stay quiet, it can't. When a world-renowned art collector leaves money to waitresses in his will, people notice. The media picks it up. Headlines run, reporters call. And suddenly, two private individuals are thrust into a very public spotlight. Think about that for a second. You're a working-class server. You've just received a life-changing amount of money, and now everyone knows. Your coworkers know, your neighbors know, your extended family knows, strangers know, and everyone has an opinion. Some people think it's beautiful, a heartwarming story, proof that kindness matters, a reminder that people notice how you treat them. Other people get weird. They start calculating. They start asking questions. They start treating you differently, because here's the brutal truth about sudden money. The moment people know you have it, everything changes. Friends you haven't heard from in years suddenly reach out. Family members mention their struggles. Strangers approach you with investment opportunities. Everyone has advice. Everyone has a hand out. And you're just trying to process the fact that a man you served steak to left you $50,000. The attention is overwhelming. The privacy is gone. The financial decision-making is stressful. Do you invest it? Do you pay off debt? Do you quit your job? Do you tell people? Do you keep working? And what about taxes? Because yes, inheritance can be taxable depending on the structure and the state. There are legal considerations, tax implications, financial planning needs. This isn't a check you cash and forget. This is a financial event that requires strategy, but most people aren't equipped for that. Most people have never dealt with a sudden windfall. They don't have financial advisors. They don't know the rules. They don't know who to trust. And the pressure is intense because everyone's watching. Everyone's waiting to see what you'll do. Everyone's judging. That's the hidden cost of sudden wealth. It's not just the money. It's the attention, the expectation, the loss of anonymity. And for two waitresses in Manhattan, that's the reality they stepped into in 2015 when the estate finally settled and the money transferred. But that's not even the deepest part of this story. Let's talk about what this story actually teaches us. Because it's not what you think. This isn't about working hard and getting rewarded. That's too simple. Plenty of people work hard their entire lives and never see a windfall like this. This is about something more subtle, more powerful, and way more uncomfortable. It's about how we treat people when there's no incentive to treat them well. Think about it. Maureen and Maureen didn't know Robert was wealthy. They didn't serve him expecting anything beyond a normal tip. They didn't strategize. They didn't network. They didn't angle for his favor. They just did their job with kindness, with consistency, with dignity, and that's what he noticed. Because wealthy people, really wealthy people, are surrounded by performance. Everyone wants something. Everyone's polite because they know who you are. Everyone's calculating the angle. But a waitress at a neighborhood steakhouse, she doesn't care about your net worth. She cares about whether you're rude to her, whether you tip fairly, whether you treat her like a human being, and that honesty is rare. Robert saw that, he valued it, and when it came time to distribute his estate, he remembered. But here's the uncomfortable part. You can't manufacture that, you can't fake it. You can't treat people well because you hope they'll put you in their will. The moment you do, it stops being genuine, and people feel that. Especially people who have spent their lives being courted for their money. Authenticity can't be performed, it can only be lived. And that's the lesson. Not that you should be nice to everyone because they might be rich, but that how you treat people when no one's watching, when there's no reward, when it's just you and your character, that's what defines you. And sometimes, rarely, someone notices, but you can't count on it, you can't expect it. You can only be the kind of person who treats others with respect regardless of what you get in return. That's the real currency. And it's a lot harder to maintain than most people realize. Now let's talk about what happens after the windfall. Here's what they don't tell you about sudden money. It doesn't solve your problems, it just changes them. $50,000 is a substantial amount. For most people, it's transformative, but it's not infinite. It's not retire forever money. It's not quit your job and travel the world money. It's make a smart decision or blow it in 2 years money. And that's where most people stumble. Because when you've never had a financial cushion, the temptation to spend is overwhelming. You've been living paycheck to paycheck. You've been delaying things, skipping things, dreaming about things. And now, suddenly, you can afford them. The car repair you've been putting off. The dental work you've been ignoring. The debt you've been carrying. The vacation you've been dreaming about. All feels urgent, it all feels justified, and it all costs money. And before you know it, the 50,000 is 40, then 30, then 20, then it's gone. And you're back where you started, except now you have the memory of what it felt like to have options. That's the tragedy of mismanaged windfalls. So what's the smart play? First, you pause. You don't touch the money for at least 30 days. You let the emotional high settle. You let the pressure cool. You give yourself space to think clearly. Second, you deal with the legal and tax side. You talk to a tax professional. You understand the implications. You make sure you're not going to get blindsided by a bill you didn't see coming. Third, you eliminate high-interest debt, credit cards, payday loans, anything that's eating you alive with interest. That's not exciting, but it's the foundation of financial stability. Fourth, you build an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses. Boring, practical, essential. And fifth, you think long-term. Maybe it's investing, maybe it's education, maybe it's a career change, maybe it's a down payment on a home, but the key is this: you treat the money with respect. You honor the person who gave it to you. You don't blow it, you don't waste it, you don't let it disappear, because here's the truth. Robert H. Ellsworth didn't leave that money so Maureen and Maureen could buy a new TV. He left it because he saw something in them. He valued them. He wanted to make a difference in their lives. That's a responsibility. Not a burden, but a responsibility. And the way you honor that is by making the money matter, by making it count. By using it to build something better, not perfectly, not without mistakes, but thoughtfully. That's the lesson. So here's where we land: 2 waitresses, 1 Upper East Side steakhouse, 1 quiet regular, 1 impossible inheritance. US dollar 100,000. Split between 2 women who did nothing except show up and be kind. No treasure map, no lottery ticket, no viral video, no crypto bet, just years of small, quiet, dignified interactions with a man who noticed. And when you sit with that for a minute, it's almost overwhelming, because it reminds us that we're always being seen, not in a paranoid way, but in a human way. The way you treat the barista, the delivery driver, the custodian, the person at the checkout counter. They're not invisible. They're not NPCs in your story, they're people. And they remember, not because they expect anything, but because humanity recognizes humanity. And sometimes, very rarely, that recognition turns into something extraordinary. But here's the thing you have to understand. This story isn't a strategy. It's not a blueprint. It's not a how-to. You can't treat people well because you hope they'll remember you in their will. That's not how it works. That's not why it matters. You treat people well because that's who you are, because it's the right thing to do, because everyone deserves dignity. And if, once in a blue moon, someone notices and does something incredible, that's grace. That's a gift. That's not the goal. It's the surprise. Maureen Donahue Peters and Maureen Barry didn't set out to inherit money. They set out to do their jobs with integrity. And Robert H. Ellsworth didn't set out to create a viral news story. He set out to thank two people who made his life a little better. That's it. No grand plan, no calculated move, just human decency meeting human gratitude. And the result was a windfall that changed two lives forever. So if you made it this far, I need you to do three things. First, hit that like button. This story deserves to be seen. It's real, it's powerful, and it reminds us that kindness still matters in a world that often forgets. Second, subscribe. Because we tell true stories like this every week. Stories about ordinary people and extraordinary moments. Stories that prove life is stranger and more beautiful than fiction. And third, share this video with someone who loves unbelievable true stories. Someone who needs a reminder that good things still happen. Someone who will appreciate what this story really means. Now here's my question for you, and I really want to know. If someone left you $50,000 out of nowhere, no strings, no expectations, just a gift, what's the first thing you'd do with it?